Talking about legacies is a taboo for Bethesda, and expeditions are now a new way of griefing others. There's also a few dev reveals about the Pitt. It's news time. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Fallout 76 video. I have returned with yet a lot to report, such as confirmation on how Bethesda openly avoids legacy item discussions in 76. Now Expeditions is being used as a tool to grief and deny rewards to other players, and the AutoX is working inconsistently. It's kinda bugged actually. In this round, I will also show you some interesting The Pitt revelations by developers and go over the latest issues in Appalachia, such as a server downtime, Friendslist not working again, and even NPCs roaming around as if they grew tired of their fixed location code. A peculiar one, I must add. There's even a strange Datamined asset. Alright, it's time to dive into the details. Let's do this. Have you ever wondered why Bethesda rarely answers or talks about legacy items and the problem legacy weapons pose in 76? I know developer Hydra Skills has addressed the matter a few times in the past to inform players the matter is being, quote, looked into and a solution is under development. But honestly speaking, he was one of the very few who publicly talked about legacy weapons until date. And there is a reason why Bethesda vividly avoids the topic. And that's because Bethesda staff is instructed to do not discuss the matter. And no, this is not speculation. I spotted this conversation a few days ago on Bethesda's official Discord server, where the staff member Metabolic Argonian confirmed they don't talk about legacy items, as it typically leads to negative discussions. I wonder why. Probably because such items create a great deal of unfairness and imbalance in the game. Anyway, remarks aside, this talk ended with a staff member redirecting the user to Bethesda's support, where anyone can freely submit feedback on whatever matter they see fit. Moreover, a few years ago, I remember seeing a community manager making the same claim through a private channel, that they are not supposed to talk about legacy weapons. So this is another hint, a very clear one, on Bethesda's internal rules of conduct. All in all, staff members should simply ignore the topic, no matter what players say and no matter how ugly things get, like some updates ago, where legacies became even more powerful and nobody really knew why. Moral of the story, legacy items and weapons are like a taboo, forbidden to discuss, and they cannot be addressed through official Bethesda channels, apparently. So best to take the discussion elsewhere, like Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, and other third-party public channels. Lastly, if you are wondering why Bethesda is so strictly avoidant about this, I can give you a few ideas. First, complexity. The legacy matter is not simple at all. It branches out to many other topics, such as duping, hacking, spawning, and cheating overall, which are forbidden matters in Bethesda's official channels. It's even in the rules, and here's a recent quote even from another staff member to confirm what I'm saying. Secondly, legacy weapons pose an undeniable imbalance in the combat system. No other type of weapon can come any close to match the damage legacies can do on their own. And third, fixing legacy weapons is extremely difficult, if possible at all. Otherwise, Bethesda would have patched them over these past 4 years. Don't you think so? Well, there you go. That's why the topic is a taboo, and silence is chosen over communication or any sort of action, really. The Pitt expeditions came live with a lot of leader perks, but what Bethesda probably didn't consider at first when they were developing the system is that such perks could easily be used the wrong way by players with malicious or troll intentions. And here we are now. In the past days, I have seen quite a few reports on how griefers are now using expeditions to annoy other players. How, you may ask? Well, there are several ways, like leaders going AFK or wasting time on purpose, but the most popular griefing ways are through kicking teammates or simply quitting the expedition as a leader right after the last objective is completed, which ultimately denies rewards to everyone else but the leader. The good news is that Bethesda seems to be aware of the problem already, so a fix or change could be on the way. In fact, Quest Design Coral even made sure to send a note to the rest of the developer team so they can look into the matter in detail. As for the time being, I recommend doing expeditions with friends as much as possible to avoid getting griefed by randoms. Starting your own expedition in public servers and letting others join is also a great option as you have full control over your run. The last option is to solo if you want or can, but in my view, that's too much of a hassle and a waste of resources. But these are basically the three options you have on the table right now to avoid getting trolled or griefed. Now it's story time. 76 servers were down again, but you might have not noticed because it was handled very discreetly. Anyway, on September 21 and 22 a little bit too, many players reported issues while trying to log into 76. What errors though? Your guess is as good as mine. Pick your poison, there are so many at this point that anything is possible, anything could happen. But I did see lots of reports about authentication errors and failed to load playlists. Some players even said they would get booted from expeditions randomly. It's a wild world out there in Appalachia, so I cannot be sure about this one. Anyhow, the 76 servers were down for real, with an intermittent service for some 8 hours, according to Bethesda's official Discord logs. Needless to say that player reports were raining from the sky, but Bethesda staff was swift to handle the situation as shown with these posts. Well, after the servers came back to normal, I checked Reddit and the complaints about server and game instability continue. Well, at least servers are not fully down anymore, so that's something. Gotta look at the bright side of things every now and then. Lastly, I just want to mention that there seems to be some crash triggers in the Pitt, as many player reports confirmed crashes while doing expeditions. It's a strange one, yes, but it's what I have been seeing. Well, let's hope Bethesda will release a few more hotfixes in the upcoming weeks. That would be really appreciated. Let's move on to the Pitt now, more specifically to the auto-X and its inconsistent damage output. This matter was first mentioned to me by Amphi, and later on I spotted several posts on Reddit and I decided to test. I was really curious. And yes, the auto-X seems to be bugged, but not exactly on a bad way. Well, it actually depends on what game mode you play, I suppose, because your damage output with the auto-X seems to depend on your game mode exactly. No joke. Why would a view game mode affect a weapon's performance? I have no single idea, but it's how it works. Look at this. In third-person mode, my damage is not that impressive, right? Then with the same exact build, gear, weapon, everything. But using first-person mode, the damage like duplicates, if not more. It's quite crazy. The funny part is that the damage numbers are similar, however the HP bars tell us something very different, doesn't it? First-person mode enables way more auto-X damage, and some players argue that's because you can easily hit critical points like the chest or head in this mode. While in third-person mode, you are likely to hit them less frequently because limbs are on the way. I mean, it's a theory, yes. It could be possible, yes. But I'm not so sure it's what's happening here. I suspect there's something else, some sort of mechanical bug going on, but I'm not sure exactly or how the details work really. Well, at least now you know, if the auto-X is your new favorite weapon, you might want to play in first-person mode to take advantage of the extra free damage. Alright, still on the Pitt, I have a few special revelations to share with you, starting with the Fanatics faction and their origins. Earlier this month, Quest Design Coral posted something rather interesting about how Bethesda came up with the Fanatics concept. He quoted two other devs who worked on the new Fanatic faction, Chris and Josh from the Quest Design team. You can read the full post for all the in-depth info, but basically the idea behind the Fanatics was to create a conquering, more advanced subgroup of Fanatics who can run things on their own while still being highly hostile. In contrast with existing raider groups, like the Crater, who are rather civilized, and the Blood Eagles, who have no grand ambition, as Carl described it. Some of the inspiration also has roots on sports fanatics, also known as hooligans, but the concept was adapted to the Pitt, obviously. I think it's a very curious background indeed. I would have never guessed if they hadn't made it public. The second revelation I have for you is regarding the last mission in From Ashes to Fire, where players must defend 3 helpless survivors. It's a rather tricky objective to do, where players often get lost in the process because the mission marks become to Danilo and to the old woman to deliver the colors, and everything else in the process is a bit hard to find because there's no meters until you are close. But now we have confirmation on how this objective works. According to developer Alice, the spawn rules have a neat logic. The survivors spawn by proximity depending on their weakness. For example, the weakest survivor of them all will always spawn closer to the exit, thus making it easier and faster to find. In contrast, the furthest spawn will obviously belong to the strongest or most resilient survivor, which gives players more time to reach them. Another death fact you probably didn't know, am I right? The next news is a very fresh one. I woke up this morning to several posts about how the friends list is again kaput, not working, especially for PlayStation users. The direct result of this is obviously an empty friends list as shown here. There's nothing there, but fear not if it happens to you, it's just a bug. It should return back to normal as soon as they fix it. Anyway, Bethesda staff informed players the dev team was handling the technical issues. They also confirmed the problem was mostly for PlayStation, but I can confirm it was a general thing since, well, I had no friends list earlier this morning, and I am definitely not on PlayStation. Lastly, I just want to mention that the other friends list issue about everyone showing up as offline is still there, and it happens way more often than I would like. I hope one day things will return back to normal. Next in line, I have a follow-up on my last news. I talked about how atmospheric filters were a bit messed up, but apparently the issue is a bit deeper than that. I found out this Reddit post where the user states 76 is suffering from a no shadow and lighting problems. Well then, that certainly could explain why the pit suddenly turned dark and bland like this, because shadows are sort of missing. Anyway, the same user posted some screenshots as evidence of this new issue, and damn, he had it way worse than me. It's like another game, in fact. Everything looks strange, so devoid of life even. I really hope this one doesn't become a frequent issue, otherwise it's gonna be painful to play. Talking about issues, earlier today I came across a rare event, at least I think so. One of my daily responder missions asked me to photograph Bessie at the Wayward Inn, so that's where I headed, but for my surprise, the robot Moo was nowhere to be seen. Thank goodness the mission tracked her down, or I would never in this world find what I did. Look at that! Bessie was patrolling a government airdrop in the middle of nowhere in the forest area, together with her buddy Cheswick 2 and a random scavenger NPC. But what in the God's name happened here? Well, I'm still not sure. I posted this a few hours ago on my Twitter, and some of you guys pointed out that even the cat has a fixed location. I also datamined Bessie and I did not find anything new, not at all, so it's definitely not a random encounter or a new change. As such, the only logical deduction here is that this is a rare bug, where NPCs can suddenly become sentient and roam around freely across Appalachia. It's like suddenly they grow free will, or as Maddox said, these NPCs are probably fetching roaming code from some other entries somehow. In code language, that's really what makes the most sense. Anyway, after joining several other servers, Bessie was always at her usual spot. So indeed, that must have been a one-of-a-time bug. I will probably never see it again. But it's also proof that NPCs can break their own code in Fallout 76, sort of speaking. We are almost at the end of the round here, but before that, do let me inform you that there is no Inside the Vault news this time, as community manager Jessica Pate confirmed already. However, expect some juicy news to land next week, hopefully something about new rewards for the upcoming events, like Spooky Scorched. I am not so optimistic, but maybe it will happen. Let's hope it does. Let's talk about that in another news though. As the last point, I selected a curious discovery by data miner Madocrot. He came across this strange asset. It's like a white metal wall made out of parts, and one of these parts is very different in red with gears saying WIP, work in progress, for those wondering what does it stand for. Now, this is certainly not an asset meant for player consumption, at least I don't think so. If I had to guess, I would say this one was created for internal purposes, maybe to signal a certain asset is under development, to the rest of the team. Other than that, I can't think of any other purposes, really. Well then, a huge part of this news was dedicated to the Pitt, so I figured to add a random bug straight from there. Did you know that the Vertibird wings move? Yep, if you are the leader, you can easily see this when you enter, but the bug here is about something else. The propellers are actually ghost assets. You can go through it, no problemo. There is no physics whatsoever. In fact, if you come too close, you can even get inside or fall down. In this case, I stayed at the very edge, and as you can see black void, because that's the inside of the propellers. I guess it had to be done this way, or they wouldn't move at all, or they would kill you even if they had real physics. That would have been a nice touch though, at least I think so. Anyhow, that's everything I have to report for the time being. Thank you so much for watching. I am Marta Branco. Feel free to leave a like, comment below, and subscribe to help the channel out. You can also become a member or patron to help me produce this type of content more often. Well then, it's time for me to go. Until next time, take care. Adeus. Bye bye.